All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vince Pikowski. We are back here at the 42nd Annual Best Ranger Competition here at Camp Rogers in Fort Benning, Georgia. Again, we've got Rangers all across Fort Benning right now competing in what is Ranger Reckoning. They have completed Event 1. They have moved on to what we call Ranger Reckoning, where they will complete about 13 events throughout the day and up to 35 miles of movement. After that, competitors are going to go into the night road march. Then they're headed out from the night road march into night stakes. And at night stakes, we have a variety of different events out there this year, and one of which is the reptile identification event out at, is it going to be Camp Darby tonight?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. And I'm joined here today by Staff Sergeant Jackson and Sergeant First Class Byer to kind of walk us through the reptile event and kind of their history inside the Ranger community, and then why we've got them out here today and how they kind of fit into the competition. So I'll kind of turn it over to whoever wants to drive that ship a little bit.
I'll go ahead and start with the lane itself. I'll just start a little bit of history and that'll make it easier.
Yeah.
So 6RTB down there at Eglin Air Force Base, we've learned that it's been a part, the Reptile House has been a part of the battalion since the late 50s. So it's been a huge thing with being able to show Ranger students in person the animals that they're going to be encountering more than likely throughout their time at Florida. So it's just because obviously back then they didn't have PowerPoint slides or anything, so it's just hey, here's the animal. Yeah. And ever since then it's just been an upkeep of actually just having the animals, housing them, caring for them, and just continuing to show Ranger students as they come through the various species of wildlife that they're going to encounter. And it's ended up becoming a huge part of the community outreach as well, which is great for 6RTB, just building those relations with the community. And since it's just a proud heritage and tradition of 6RTB, just being able to educate students and the community, they decided to ask us to do a reptile identification lane as one of the night stakes. So it's brand new this year to Best Ranger Competition, and basically we're just going to run it as similar to the hand grenade station at EIB. So candidates are just going to come up and identify what reptile it is based off of characteristics, coloration, and design patterns of the animal, with just a very small portion in a blacked out photo of that animal. So it's hey, if you see anything like this, then you probably know it's an albino snake or something like that, but it just really depends on what they see in that photo and how they're going to identify it. And throughout this week, we've been showing them slideshows and showing the animals themselves what they look like and how to be able to identify them just by off of small characteristics.
So as part of Competitor Week, you guys reintroduced everyone into the reptile identification lane.
We did. So we brought an example of most of the reptiles that are going to be on their test, and that's just coming from our reptile house. So that we have an eastern diamondback out here, we have a water moccasin, and so when they come in for the test, they'll get an opportunity to look at the actual physical animal itself, but they'll be testing off of picture. So during Competitors Week, they've been briefed. We gave them a little bit of a slideshow kind of showing them what those pictures are going to look like, what to look for. So they had an opportunity to take a look at some of the animals that we're going to be bringing out there. So they kind of should know what to expect, but we'll see how it goes.
And are they going to do this under low light conditions, or is this going to be lit conditions? Low light conditions. So they might not be able to necessarily identify the color pattern necessarily.
It might be a little bit more difficult for them.
Okay.
They'll be doing this under a red lens. So we'll have the snakes will be in, the animals will be in their cases. Basically, we'll have for easy viewing, but they'll also be under red light. So that visual could be a little bit challenging as well. So
fantastic.
Hopefully they studied some.
Hopefully. And I also noticed you guys put out, I think it was on the National Ranger Association page on Instagram, there was a reptile identification post probably 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
that kind
we
of
did.
listed all the snakes and all the
We
animals and was kind of a cue in or a hint. Was that deliberate?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've had an opportunity to read it, and they've had an
ample
opportunity
amount of time.
to look. So hopefully they made use of that time.
Yeah,
and what was available.
We're even telling the competitors too throughout this week. It's hey, you know what animals may be on the test? Start hitting up Google, because they may look different from these photos we're showing you now. It might be a different kind of photo of the animal.
Yeah.
So it's important to just use your time wisely to Google it, but it still might be the easiest lane that they'll do out there.
I wouldn't discount any lane as easy when they're going to be cognitively fatigued.
Yeah,
I think you're going to be shocked. Someone's going to look at that and be like, a parrot, and you're going to be like, brother. wake up a little bit.
I think if that
start
happened,
working with us.
if they misidentify, let's say like the American alligator, I mean, there's really not much we can do.
Ranger,
I
you're
get
a
it.
no-go at
I
this
do
station.
get it.
That's
I
right.
get it. But
That's right.
I would be very disappointed. But you know, we've got high hopes for all the teams
Yeah.
and that are left and that will make it out there. And so we're looking forward to seeing just how well they prepared for it, because this is a new thing.
Yeah.
I think it's something that they probably didn't think about, because I think this particular lane is something that you may not think you need to worry about as much. And that might be the case, but we're excited to be a part of it, and that, you know, they're incorporating the reptiles and the reptile team into this.
I think it's a fantastic example of when we talk about there's a cognitive, physical, tactical, and a technical portion of this. This is one of those cognitive portions that you kind of take for granted until you're out, you know, down in Florida, and you're like, oh boy, I have no clue what that thing is. And I have a vivid memory from my patrol in Florida of walking through the swamp and an RI stick next to me, just like going whack, and like looking over, and there's like a black snake just like dead in the water because the RI had spotted it like trailing through the water.
Yeah.
And like to this day, I'm like, that man saved my life, I think, right? Maybe not, but he took that. I would have not seen it. I would have not identified it. I wouldn't have known, because I was so tired at that time. And so I
Yeah.
think it's a really cool way to bring something back into the competition that Rangers might be rusty on, because reptile ID class at Ranger School, you're smoked, you're tired, and it's
That's
a hard
true.
thing to
This
sit through.
is probably something that they haven't thought about or seen maybe since then. You know,
Yep.
and they're probably half asleep when they're getting the brief anyway. And we do a
They
pretty
are.
good job. Yeah, we do a pretty good job of, you know, bringing the animal out and saying, hey, this is this. You know,
Yep.
look out for it. You might not see it. So we'll just, I mean, pulling from that memory as well, I think, definitely part of that cognitive test.
Which also gives Ranger students a really good confidence boost. Hopefully, that shows like, hey, these instructors are actually willing and confident enough to handle these reptiles and work with them. So that way, if they do encounter them out there, it's like, hey, we can come handle it professionally
Absolutely.
and in a very like controlled manner too.
Absolutely.
So
Do you guys want to introduce us quick to the friends we got here today?
I'll let you go first.
Okay,
'cause he's
so
been
I
swimming.
have, this is Mac and Cheese. She's a ball python. She is an albino ball python, and she's been part of the house for about a year now, I think. She's not going to be on the test, so we're not really testing Rangers on her species, but we're happy to have her out here. She comes out for a lot of the events. She's
Yeah.
really good with people, crowd favorite. So
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then here we got Bam Bam, our little battalion mascot. He's our little American alligator. He was born and raised on Camp Rudder, so he's 12 years old. He does have dwarfism due to a birth defect and things like that, and living indoors his entire life. So I mean, he's not going to get much bigger, but I mean, hopefully we can get him to chirp.
I don't know if he will or not, but he loves the little head scratches.
Oh yeah, look at him. He looks
Yeah.
like a
He
puppy right
loves
now. He's
it.
got his eyes closed, his head canted back.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So they call them swamp puppies for a reason.
Yeah. So as we go through this competition, what are some things like you've noticed today from competitors or across the week as like you engage or talk with competitors that maybe you didn't expect or that surprised you being out here?
Well, I would say a couple of the questions that we've gotten more so is probably what's surprising to me, because it seems like, for me, this is my everyday thing. Like, I work with these animals at work. We see them out in the training area, and I know what they look like right off the bat. But it's some of the questions that we've gotten as far as like the color pattern and what these snakes actually look like, what they're going to look in the pictures. It's kind of surprising that not many people know about the animals that are in, you know, their training area or their state or their county or whatever it is.
Or the
So-
Ranger Handbook.
or
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Ranger Handbook,
Yep.
exactly. So I would say that there's a lot of not confusion, but maybe more so just they don't know exactly what they're going to be looking at. I mean, they want the answers for sure. We're not going to give it to them, but I
Absolutely.
think some of the questions for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank
Yeah.
you guys so much for stopping by. Please let us know how tonight went tomorrow. I would love a back brief on if someone misidentified the American alligator. That would be
I mean,
an electric
hopefully not.
opportunity.
Oh my gosh.
We'll,
make
Well,
sure
we
to
hope
tell them
not.
scales versus skin, because I mean, when you look at scales versus some bumpy skin,
that's
it
right.
shouldn't be too hard to misidentify. But
We'll
like
see
you
how
said,
well everybody
yeah.
studied.
That's right. That's right.
fatigued and tired, you know, can change mindset.
That's right. Well, Sergeant First Class Byers, Staff Sergeant Jackson, thank you guys so much for coming out today. And we are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come right back on with some more interviews and some more touch points. And then we'll also take a moment to just go through the top 40 listing and how the competition is standing right now.